The Dead Sea is coming back to life. And this could change your story too. Imagine this, the deadest place on earth. The one that for centuries has been synonymous with desolation and death is now showing surprising signs of life. But is this just a common geological phenomenon? Or is it the literal fulfillment of an ancient prophecy that no one dared to expect? For decades, Christians and scholars have studied these ancient words, but no one was prepared to see them materializing before our eyes. If God is restoring what seemed impossible, what does that mean for you? Could He also be trying to heal and renew something inside your own heart, something you might have thought was lost forever? Maybe you're going through a dry time, a spiritual desert, a feeling that nothing more blooms. But what is happening at the Dead Sea might actually be a direct sign for your life, a silent invitation for you to allow restoration to begin within you. We are talking about a place that is not just geography, it is the Middle East, Israel, the land where crucial historical moments happened. From ancient manuscripts to the baptism of Jesus through the judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah. Prophecies like Ezekiel 47 and Zechariah 14 speak of living waters that turn the desert into life. And today, all of this begins to fit together before our eyes. I myself have felt like the Dead Sea, dry, salty, unproductive. But this story gave me hope. And if you stay with me until the end, it can give hope to you as well. For centuries, the Dead Sea remained untouched, a static reminder of a judged land. But something changed. The water level is receding so fast that even the local people began to fear what once seemed eternal. In its place, craters called sinkholes appeared, holes that swallowed everything around. They looked like open scars, as if the earth were releasing years of silence. And in the middle of this almost apocalyptic scene, the unbelievable happened. Freshwater pools began to spring up. Yes, fresh water. In the Dead Sea. And inside them, life. Scientists were stunned. Archaeologists scratched their heads. The media rushed to cover it. But among Christians, many cried. Not out of fear, but from a strange feeling. Hope, after all. Something considered dead was reacting. The images speak for themselves. Cracks opened. Water sprang forth. And the impossible began to happen. It's as if the earth whispered, "It's not over yet." From the cracks, something new was born. A visual reminder that even the driest deserts can hide a miracle. But what does this really mean? Could something much bigger be happening? Behind the invisible scenes of history, the prophet Ezekiel saw something no one else saw, a river, flowing from the temple, crossing the land and flowing down to the Dead Sea. But unlike what was expected, these waters did not destroy. They healed. Wherever they touched, death gave way to life. And strange as it seems, the words of this ancient text are being fulfilled today before the cameras. The waters of the sea will be healed. Fish will live where there was once death. Now imagine a place marked by judgment, salt, and silence, being healed drop by an invisible river. It's more than poetry. It's a spiritual code. The temple, in Ezekiel's vision, represents the presence of God. And this presence does not come to accuse but to transform. Wherever it touches, no matter how dead it seems, something new begins to pulse there. And it's not just about geography. It's about you and me. Because if God can transform the deadest spot on earth, can He not also reach the driest parts of your soul? The wound no one sees? The pain you carry in silence? This is where that ancient prophecy stops being just about a river and begins to speak directly to us. And as we will see, even the most forgotten desert can bloom again. The story of Sodom is one of the most emblematic in the Bible, a place that, according to Genesis, was a true paradise, almost a Garden of Eden, until the day judgment fell. The Dead Sea today carries that memory like a scar on the land, a visible symbol of the consequences of sin and destruction. However, something is changing. What once seemed condemned now begins to be restored, as if the very nature of that place cried out for redemption. This transformation is not only physical, but also spiritual. When we think about the possibility of starting over, we often remember our mistakes, the crooked paths that took us away from the light. But the story of the Dead Sea reminds us that no matter how severe the fall was, there's always room for restoration. God, as said in Ezekiel 36, promises to give a new heart and a new spirit, ready to bloom even in the driest lands. For those facing deep wounds, this message is an invitation. Just as the land punished by judgment begins to renew, our lives can also be rewritten. It's not easy, of course. Starting over requires courage and faith. But who hasn't felt, deep in the heart, the secret hope that change is possible? And it is this hope that connects the past of the Dead Sea with the present of each one of us, opening the way for something greater. The story of biblical prophecies is full of surprising details, like the prediction about Tyre in Ezekiel 26, which was impressively fulfilled by Alexander the Great. These literal coincidences are not mere chance, but evidence that there is a greater plan at work. And when we look at Zechariah 14 and Revelation 22, we see the promise of living waters flowing from Jerusalem, a symbol of life and restoration that transcends time. This precision of prophecies gives new weight to our faith if ancient words continue to come true. Before our eyes, how can we not reflect on what is still to come? It's as if past and future intertwine in the same invisible thread, showing that the fulfillment of divine promises is real and tangible. This invites us to be alert, not to ignore the signs, and to seek to understand the meaning of these intense times. But the question remains, are we truly ready for what is about to happen? This reflection is the silent invitation that prophecies make to each one of us. After all, recognizing the signs is the first step to living with purpose, aligning our journey with the great story that is still being written. And so, we enter a deeper conversation about who we really are before this scenario. Often, what we see in the Dead Sea is a mirror of what happens inside us. How many times has someone felt dry, lifeless, as if their soul were paralyzed in an inner desert? This feeling of spiritual death is not uncommon, and it distances us from what really matters. The Dead Sea, with its salty and stagnant water, thus becomes a powerful metaphor for the invisible struggles we carry every day. There are real stories that illustrate this transformation. Imagine a person who, for years, distanced themselves from God, living in the shadow of doubt and emptiness. Then, little by little, through small signs, a kind word, a sincere prayer, they begin to feel restoration. It's as if living water started to spring up in the middle of their personal desert. Romans 11:15 speaks precisely about this restoration. When Israel returns, life returns to the world, and the same can happen to each of us. It's an invitation to look inward and realize that God is active, even where everything seems dry and dead. He restores not only lands but hearts. And you, have you felt this movement? Have you noticed the possibility of rebirth even after storms? If the Dead Sea can come back to life, why not you? This reflection prepares us to understand something even deeper about this journey of healing. What happens to the Dead Sea goes far beyond a natural phenomenon. It is a powerful sign, a living narrative that challenges us to look at our own lives and the history of humanity. The water's retreat, the sinkholes, and even the freshwater pools with life represent that. Even in the face of what seems impossible, a greater force is acting to restore what was lost. The ancient prophecy of Ezekiel is not just a text to be read. It is an invitation to understand that where God is present, death loses its dominion. The Dead Sea, a symbol of judgment and condemnation, begins to heal before our eyes, showing that transformation is possible, both for the land and for the human heart. It is a promise of hope that spans millennia and speaks directly to our experience. And this story does not end with the Dead Sea. It expands to the human spirit, to our pains, mistakes, and reconstructions. Just as the region of Sodom represents the past marked by judgment, the restoration of the Dead Sea invites us to believe that restoration is real and possible. What once seemed like a dead desert can bloom again, and the same goes for each of us. But this journey leads us to reflect on the signs of the times and the urgency of being prepared for what is to come. What was a symbol of death now announces life. This millennial prophecy, which many consider just a distant hope, materializes before our eyes, showing that the impossible can become real. The Dead Sea, a place that seemed destined for eternal silence, now resurges as a prophetic and spiritual sign for all of us. If a desert can bloom, why couldn't you revive too? This transformation is an invitation to decision, spiritual and personal. Jesus is coming back, and the signs are clear, painting on the horizon a message of hope for those who are attentive. The question that remains is simple but profound. Are you willing to allow this new life to enter your heart? If the Dead Sea can be reborn, what is stopping you from starting over now? So, how about taking the next step? Subscribe to the channel to keep receiving messages that challenge and inspire. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this word of hope. And in the comments, tell me, have you ever lived a Dead Sea in your life? I really want to read your story. Remember, the Bible is alive. The signs are there. Don't ignore them. And to dive even deeper, watch now the sealed gate of Jerusalem and the prophecy no one is talking about.